Welcome to Contact Has Begun, brought to you by the grace of the World Puja Network, one of the last vestiges of truth concerning benevolent, spiritually and technologically advanced off-world visitors. Some refer to these visitors as our greater family of man or returning ancient ancestors. I am James Gilliland, your host, and our guests also include cutting-edge physicists, authors, teachers, and healers dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth. Let the journey begin. Greetings, this is James Gilliland with World Puja. We've got another great show. We've got George Kavassilas. Hope I'm saying that right. He's a contactee, abductee, and speaker who has a unique perspective known for bringing out extraordinary information. And George is in the process of conducting a world speaking tour. And for more information, you can visit his websites. Just Google Ascension and Beyond and Our Journey Home, and it'll pop up. And he's going to be out here August 13th and 14th. So be sure and contact us here at ECETI if you want to, find out more about that. But, he says such an outrageous perspective on what's happening. And, that's the number one question that I get over and over again is what the heck is going on? People are feeling something's in the wind, something's coming down, something big. And what better person to have give us his perspective on that other than George. So, George, are you with us?
Yes, I am, James. So wonderful to be here with you, and I really appreciate the offer to have a discussion once again.
Oh, yeah, it was quite interesting. I mean, I know here right now, everybody, their crown is going off. I walked in the house and everybody's looking at each other going, what is going on? And everybody is feeling their crown chakra just lighting up. And there's just a huge influx of energy, coming in. And I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, we're getting prepared. We're actually preparing ourselves now for what's about to transpire because there's an event that's coming very soon. Now, when it actually transpires, I don't have access to that kind of information. I just know it's coming. I've been feeling it for some time. All my friends are feeling it. People that I'm communicating with around the world are feeling it. And so it's an area to explore. I think it's a very important area to explore because if you look at what 9/11 achieved, and it was an attempt at a global mind control. It really was to try and plunge humanity deeper into a trance. And they had a pretty good go at it. It worked okay, but it didn't have the full desired effect that they would have liked. And so you could say to some degree it was a bit of an experiment. And the next one that's coming is going to be a big one. It will make 9/11 look like a little baby because our consciousness is transforming so quickly now and so rapidly. They actually need to be careful what they implement. So there's a lot of plans that they wanted to implement, which won't come to pass. But they're going to call out the big guns now, because this next, I actually call it a global mind control event, and that's what's pending. So whatever transpires, whether it's Comet Elenin, whether it's a fake alien invasion, whether it's a religious deity turning up, whatever the event is going to be, it's going to be designed to capture your attention, to capture people's awareness and plunge people deeper into a trance. So there's a lot of us now all of a sudden that we're already activating, even before the event. We're getting ready because this is all about us holding our center, us holding our integrity and making sure that we don't get drawn into the drama vortex that this event or number of events are going to attempt to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You can see, I know there's a lot of things on the book because they have, the fake ET invasion on the books. They've got some pretty nasty stuff they're spraying, in the chemtrail program, to compromise your immune system. And then it's the 1-2 punch. They're going to bring out the other plagues and things, and they definitely distracted us with the huge Gulf oil debacle, which is still going on. It hasn't ended, despite our fearless leaders telling us that everything's clean and up, and go for a swim, eat the shrimp. It's great, Forget about those big open sores on your body. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy. We were just talking about the Fukushima situation, and there's people, they're getting 1.5, 1.8 readings on their things and radiation detectors, and they're saying get out, dangerous, and all they're doing is wiping down their windshields, with the rain, and then putting their detectors on it, the radiation detectors. So, I mean, all of these things going on, and then they shut down all the registering facilities all along the coast here, so nobody will know how much radiation is raining down on us. But you put all this together, and you start seeing a plan, with the the fluoride and the mercury and the shots that they're giving everybody, the mercury in the corn syrup, the aspartame, the 850 toxins in your water, then you got the chemtrails 6,000 times more toxic than allowable. I mean, over the toxic levels of aluminum, barium, and strontium and other things. You look at this whole plan together, and there's something really dark and deceptive going on here, to say the least.
Oh, it's a huge plan. This has been implemented intensely over the last 6,000 years, and it was all designed to, really get their tentacles into the human race on this planet. So at the end of our intended outcome, to ascend and become these creators of love and light, that we would actually, they would actually be able to stop as many of the human races going through that process as possible. So it's a very ingenious plan. And we could say getting out of victimhood, of course, that we asked them to from a much higher level. We contracted them to come and do this to us. But, we're still living the experience here. And from this part of us that's in the experience, it's like, it's a very sinister plan. On one level, it's genius. On another level, it's evil and sinister and very clever. And people need to be not so naive and gullible and start realizing what is actually going on around them. And all these people in places of authority that are continually giving false promises. I mean, I just say to people, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I was hearing politicians speak in a certain way and say certain things, and 4 decades down the track, and the same speeches, and nothing's changed. You know what I mean? It's the same old rhetoric, one election after the other, but people have been dumbed down to the point where they've got such short memories that they forget what happened just last week.
Mm-hmm. I always tell people I never vote, anymore, because, basically, the Republican Party, they basically can't do anything, but there's other people like Ron Paul out there that, may make some changes or whatever, but, I have a theory that whoever gets into office, the first thing they show them is the Kennedy film, and then they go, do you understand? You made a lot of promises, you had a lot of good ideas, you said everything you need to say to get elected, but this is how it's going to go.
Yeah, keep going down that path, and that's what's going to happen to you too. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's just like, I've just seen, I just think we went from the village idiot and a terrible liar to a really good one.
Well, yeah, I feel that they've never had anyone with so much charisma to sell their agenda since Kennedy. So that's what I feel is going on there.
Yeah, a lot of charisma, but I had somebody come here, and not to bash the leader or anything else. I'm not really into that, but let's use a little common sense. We're in 3 major wars. We're actually in 6 wars. So we didn't end the war. Transparency got worse. The ending of the Patriot Act, which was supposed to happen due to him being a constitutional lawyer, got worse. They even added to it and made it even worse. Now we've got we're getting our DNA scattered, in the airports by these machines. We're being groped. You can just go on and on with what's happening here, and with the economy and the banksters and on and on, and just go, what the heck happened to, this guy and all those promises? And it's the same thing every year. You wonder, at what point do we, break the insanity and stop doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You keep doing the same old thing, you get the same old result. Yeah. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. And it's as simple as that, really. People want change, but they don't like change.
Yeah.
So I say to people, you better start embracing change, because the changes that are happening now are teeny-weeny compared to what's about to happen real soon. So you better brace yourselves for it.
I agree. They were talking about Social Security and all these things, and they're just playing all these games to throw you off, off track and everything, and blaming it on the baby boomers and everything else, that which is so ridiculous, basically, because whoever paid into Social Security, that money's there. It doesn't matter if a baby boomer or not. That those numbers don't care. It's you paid into it. Story. And I always tell people, it's very easy to figure this out. Those you have given your power over to take care of you have taken care of themselves. It's not real complicated.
Yeah, it's not.
The only thing is it's escalated. It's just escalated to a point of where it's just gotten so out of hand, and the reckless greed and is just so obvious now. People are finally going to have to do something about it.
Yeah, they're getting frantic. It's kind of like it's this out of control frantic behaviour it's a larger collective energy of a real dark, sinister energy, because on one level it's almost throwing a tantrum because it knows its time is coming to an end. On one level, some of them truly believe that things won't transpire here to the degree that people like myself are explaining, and they think that they're going to be able to cull the human race and start over again. And they truly believe that is what's going to transpire. But, these are members of the ruling elite that are just...
Looks like we lost him. Hopefully we can get him to dial back in again. Somebody cut off the phone. Gee, I wonder why. Not the first time. Okie dokie. I was actually just wondering how long my phone line was going to work.
Are you there, James?
Hello?
Hello, James?
Yeah.
Oh, we're back. my call just...
I lost or mine?
It was mine, just totally cut out.
Oh, okay.
It was dropped out instantly, so it was weird.
Yeah.
All right.
It says it's still recording, so we'll see what happens with this. It's funny. I was just thinking about that. I go, I wonder how long they're going to let me have this phone line, because I've been hammering on this stuff for quite some time, and they blew up my home broadcasting unit. I've talked about that before. Both through the phone line and through the power line, both. Everything was toasted at the same time.
Wow.
And the cords, the cords are pretty much toasted. I had to get all new cords and everything. But I was wondering about that. I was thinking about that. I wonder how long they're going to let me have the phone line here with this interview.
Yeah, and I was just getting into the juicy stuff where they think they're going to cull, quite a large part of the population start over, because they're deluded. They are really being kept in a very small paradigm of awareness by their overlords. And it's really sad, and they're going to go into their underground bases, and they think that they're going to be safe there, but they're surplus to requirements. These off-world overlords no longer require these people, and so they're just leading them down a particular path, because when Mother Earth ascends, it doesn't matter if you're in an underground base, you're not going to be safe from planet birthing into the energy of a star. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that you're going to be safe in an underground base, because the whole lower frequencies of this reality are just going to transform and metamorphosize. So it's just not going to be safe for these sort of people to be there. And so they're being led to the demise. It's just surplus to requirements, and it's really sad that they're being deceived like that by their overlords. But it comes with the territory, I suppose, if that's the path that they've chosen to explore for so long in life. that they would end up being deceived by their very overlords that they were serving.
Mm-hmm. Definitely you've got to be frequency specific if you're going to stay with this planet on its ascension process. There's one thing that somebody was asking me this question over and over again, and they go, well, they have families, and they have they have families, and why would they be doing this to themselves? And I'd love to hear your take on that, especially with the chemtrails. They go, well, they're poisoning themselves and their own food and everything else. Why would they do that?
Because they don't see that side of it. It's kind of like they become blind. If anyone's ever spoken to anybody who belongs to an occult or is a religious zealot or is anyone who's just in a belief system and they're so blinded by it, they lose the concept of being rational. They lose rationality. They lose logic. They certainly lose empathy and compassion. And the program that they are contained within is all-encompassing, and it emanates from the mind and the construct, which is where the ego resides. So it's all about mind and ego, and very, very, I would say, hard. There's a real hard edge to these people, and it has to do with the program, very, very hard-edge program.
Yeah, it does seem that they've pretty much sold their soul, and a lot of them have involved themselves in very dark rituals where they call on, these darker forces for power, basically, and wealth and whatever. And, there's some pretty dark rituals going on there. And I've always felt that once you get involved there and the deeper you go, pretty soon you don't have a soul anymore. You don't have any rational thought. And you just become pretty much possessed. You do what you're told, and along with that, everything is compartmentalized, so nobody knows what the other one is doing. So, like with the chemtrails, one guy might be loading the tanks on, thinking that hey, this stuff is going to, create, cool the planet down, stop global warming. We're doing a great thing. Another guy might be thinking, hey, this is going to be inoculating the people. This is a good thing. And the pilot that's spraying it, he probably go, yeah, we're saving the planet up here, but, they never stop and say, maybe I should just get some of this analyzed and see what I am spraying. And my family's down there. I'm flying right overhead. If I'm not flying overhead, somebody else is. And, my friends and relatives and fellow human beings down there are getting sprayed. And it's amazing that common sense factor is just not there. It's like some of these guys are just mindless, robots, and they do what they're told, and they fulfill their job in their compartment, and they don't even think about the repercussions of what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't. And like you said, they're trained not to ask questions, and that's why they have the positions they have. But occasionally there's going to be a heart that will just shine a little bit brighter, and it'll break through that programming, and there will be the odd person that questions. And in the very near future, when these dramas do transpire, there'll be more and more that will question. And, because there's a lot of good people that are in these positions that are just playing their role for now, but when the time comes, they will activate, and you wait and see. There's going to be some surprises in store.
I hope it hurries, because I'm on the bad end of the stick right now on a few things. So, I hope they hurry up and activate on the inside. I know there's a lot of people waking up on the inside, but I've had a lot of guests talk about the system, and how the system is there really to protect the system, and it's really not there for us at all. And once we realize that, we become, almost a target of the system, and it's really there to take care of itself, and nothing else. And one day we're going to figure that out. That the Social Security thing is a good example. They were supposed to be taking care of the people, and they took care of themselves. And, and that's just the way the system works. And I always wonder when people are going to go, wait a second, there's something really seriously wrong with this system. And, I've got no more love, no more joy, no more freedom, no more abundance. I mean, life is starting to suck right now. And where did it go? And maybe that's what this shift is all about.
Yeah, it is. It is what the shift is all about. We are being challenged, and we spoke earlier in the beginning about holding integrity and holding centre, and it is. It's a challenge to see who gets lured, who gets drawn into their drama vortexes and get lured into other paths and into other domains and other realities, and who will actually hold their integrity and see it through with Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of things going on. I know, some people are saying, well, you're talking about doom and gloom when you talk about, the system and what it's doing, or you talk about Earth changes. You talk about these Illuminati or the dark forces, and it's almost like a smear, or a shot. It's like it's like spiritual ego. They take a shot at you and it exalts their position, you might say. But to me, I think we really need to look at this stuff, with loving detachment. Maintain your center, don't get wrapped up in it like the drama. But we do need to be aware of what's going on around us.
Well, there are those of us who will play a more active role than others. And, for me, I'm playing a fairly active role, as it's obvious by having this discussion. And some people play an even more active role. And, it's not for everybody. It's just those who it's their path to play these active roles. And, the time will come when we're not just going to sit back and just comment on it, that we are literally participating within this drama, because, some beings have responsibilities here that, they've invested more of themselves into this reality and what's going on here. And so therefore they have obligations and responsibilities towards playing a managerial role, for want of a better label, on this planet and its inhabitants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's there's so many different things, different ways of looking at this, we have an old program here. We call it, praise Allah, tie your camel, basically. Take care of your physical needs, take care of your backside. Things are going to change, but focus on your own personal God creator connection, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, it's important to find that balance, because we're walking between these dimensions and between, levels of awareness, and striking that balance is the greatest challenge, I think, for all of us at the moment. And, overall, like I said before, about getting out of the victimhood, so you can also rise above it, and a part of you can look at it from a much grander perspective and understand how it's playing out, why it's playing out, and all the people that are deeply involved in these really intense dramas. These are the experiences that they chose to have. So you can look at it from that point of view as well, so that, depending on what level you want to view this from. And I say take all into consideration and put the effort into actually exist and be and walk between dimensions and between the perspectives. Mm-hmm. You get a far more balanced approach if you can do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's so many things going on right now. It's like, even here, we're on a vortex right now, and the energy seems to come in really strong here, like an acupuncture point, for the whole planet, and which makes we have a major responsibility to hold a frequency here and clear out any unseen negative influences, and just to maintain that level of sensitivity, but at the same time staying grounded, which is quite a trick, really.
Yeah, staying grounded and remembering that connection that we have with Mother Earth. I mean, we chose to incarnate onto this incredibly beautiful heavenly body here. And it really is an incredible diversity of life here, which doesn't exist in other places of the universe. And, we came from the far reaches of the universe to actually be with this woman, to have an incarnational experience on her body, to be immersed in her magnetic chamber, to be immersed in her atmosphere, to breathe her atmosphere, to be, drink her waters and eat her food and be one with this incredible woman. And that's a really, that is as basic as it gets, is the remembrance of the basic reason why you exist here in the first place. If this planet wasn't here, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be having this experience without her. So the relationship is totally symbiotic. And it's so basic, but yet so forgotten. And that was their plan. The plan was to drive a wedge between, within your awareness. So you no longer take into consideration the very being that's sustaining your existence.
Yeah, definitely. We seem to have forgotten that. When I drive up the highway here coming up to the ranch, it used to be just beautiful trees on both sides of the highway, and there's rivers and waterfalls and just this pristine environment. And now it's like Godzilla appeared here. Just this year, it's just, I've never seen so many logging trucks and so many forests going down, and just total butcher jobs. We're not talking select cut or maintaining some resemblance of a forest. It's just total slash and burn and clear cutting, and it's actually breaking the rules, because you're not supposed to clear cut, especially next to the highway. They're supposed to keep it somewhat scenic, and they figure, heck, the fine is maybe just one or two trees. So why do it? Why try to maintain the forest? Why not just go in there and take everything out of it and pay the fine? It's just a couple trees out of thousands.
It's annihilation, isn't it?
Yeah, and somebody up top, I don't know who it is, but somebody just pulled all the stops. And around here, all the old growth, all the protected forest, everything is going right now. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, for me, an understanding of Mother Earth changing and the natural environment that we have is going to transform as well. So I just don't, it is painful on one level to see the destruction, but I don't feel the pain as much as I used to, because, the understanding of the transformation eases that pain.
Yeah, I also feel, too, that it's not, they don't have much time left to keep doing this, so yeah. As much as I see they're doing, I know that the Earth will sustain herself and will continue, but, those who have forgotten that connection or that keep diminishing that connection aren't going to be around to, for the big party in the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we, a lot of people, have some various beliefs. There's several belief systems. One is that we're all going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and ascend, together. And, everybody's going to go. Nobody's going to be left, on the planet. And then, other groups say, oh, no, we're all going to be beamed up, and they're going to drop us off and, infect another planet. And then, I've heard so many different stories, and that if you don't believe in these changes, they're not going to happen, So just keep driving that big SUV and keep cutting down the forest and everything else. As long as you don't believe in any of this, none of this is going to happen. And, I've heard so many different programs running here. I'm just curious if you'd want to address some of those.
Yeah, well, there is so many levels of awareness happening here, and there's the other thing to ask is where people get their information from. So for me, I say, if you want to get through all the hoo-ha and you want to get to the real crux of it all, I say rekindle that connection and with Mother Earth and ask her what she's doing. And then you get it straight from the source of the being who is this planet. And it's as simple as that. Ask Mother Earth what she's doing. Ask Father Sun what he's doing. And what is the intention of the sun facilitating this planet within its solar body, and also the two of them. What was their intention behind them working together the way they are, and what was the reason why? If you look at it, our collective intention. So let's bring into the equation now the collective human soul. Why did we collectively choose to come and participate in this reality in the way we have? So why did we want to do this? And what was the idea behind it for us as a collective human soul to come and incarnate on this planet, to be with Father Sun, to be with Mother Earth? What was our intended outcome? And for me, when I go there, when I go to that depth, those levels of connection with life, the answers are always the same, and it has to do with Mother Earth facilitating a reality where it gave beings the opportunity to rebalance their souls and allowing her then to birth a whole race of universal creators of love and light.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've always felt that this planet basically was a combination of things. There's so much genetic material here that there's quite a few different star nations that were involved in this process. Some.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, totally agree with you there.
Yeah, some were very benevolent and genetic tinkers and things like that, and some might not have been so benevolent.
Mm-hmm. That's right. The whole menagerie, every race, it got down to 12 main groupings of genetics. Mm-hmm. And then those 12 main groupings came in, and that's why we use fractals of 12 with the 12 DNA strands and the 12 planets, which are the archetypal personalities of the Creator. And so we have fractals of 12 happening everywhere, 12 apostles and what have you. So, there are 12 main genetics and, what's known as the 12 tribes of Israel and that sort of business. And that's just getting back to the original concept of what the intention of manifesting humanity was all about, to hold all the codes. So this is the microcosm of the macrocosm. So the biodiversity of life here pretty much represents the whole universe, and our genetics represent the whole universe. So we are embodied universes, and we're just about to birth. We're kind of like still, for want of a better term, we are star seeds, and our seeds are about to sprout. That mustard seed is about to sprout, and that is that Christ center that's inside all of us, that seed that was implanted in us when we first entered this universe and experienced Christ consciousness as we know it. So it's it's a very, very long journey, and this is all in the process of happening now.
I like what Meister Eckhart said. He said, if nut trees produce nut trees and pear seeds produce pear trees, he said, what do God seeds produce?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I think they pretty much kicked him out of the congregation after that one. But as they've twisted all the teachers' messages, but the bottom message of all the master teachers is that spark is within everyone, and it can be ignited to the full flame, and it's a matter of personal choice.
Yeah, because some people are ready to do it and some people are not. I'm ready to do it. That's why I'm getting up and voicing the things that I say, and I know I come across so many people who are ready to do it. We're at the end of a very, very long journey, and we're kind of, one part of us is just so tired and weary. We're done. We've explored all the facets of light, the constructive light. We've been everything and seen everything and done everything that this universe has to offer. And we are the ones now who are ready to graduate and become what we originally intended to become when we first entered this universe.
That's one common thing that comes up over and over again, where people are saying, this is done.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. I don't want to continue with this program anymore.
Yeah, we know it. We know it deep down inside of us. We're done. We've accomplished it, and it's a really, really good feeling. It's been a very, very long and arduous journey, but it's well worth it in the end for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting a little feedback here. I'm trying to fix this little problem. But, well, it's still feedback. Interesting how the phones work perfectly any other time, and then when I get somebody on the show like you or whatever, everything starts going haywire.
Yeah, it is very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been doing a few. I can hear you very clearly. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Am I coming through okay today?
Yeah, you're coming through fine. I'm just getting a little feedback, and I'm working on remedying that. But the energies are definitely having fun here. But I find it interesting, as I was talking before. I keep telling people, and I think, basically, like the Lakota prophecy, they talk about the beast, and it's 2,000 miles wide, and it's all-consuming, all-controlling. It just has to dominate and consume everything until it consumes itself. And I think we're at that point. We're at that threshold where, the banksters have looted the bank. The Mother Nature just can't contain, this program anymore. She can't, deal with the toxins and the pollution and everything else. And we've just pushed that program to the limit, and I think it's just done. Some of us are done a little earlier than others, but the lack of love and joy and freedom, and personal abundance and things now is just in the hands of a very few, and especially the money, situation and things like that. That's in the hands of a very few, and that's totally unnatural. It's breaking all the laws of creation and natural law, and I just see there's no way it can continue much longer.
Yeah, well, it's not going to continue much longer. And again, I'll always say to people, you don't have to believe anything I say. You speak to Mother Earth yourself and get it from her, and she's going to tell you. And she's about to change. And within 2 years, none of this is going to be here on this level of reality. And I'm really looking forward to this process. I'm embracing it and getting very excited about it. Is there a few challenges ahead? Sure, there are. There are a few challenges ahead. That's part of the process. It's how we wanted it from a high level. And if you can embrace that, if you could see it as a challenge that you wanted, then the journey through those challenges becomes so much easier. So much easier. Because you're not playing the victim. You're not playing the blame game. You actually embrace it and you welcome it. And you go, and you're ready for it, You're prepared. Like we say to people, there's an event that's coming. If you can just stand there and go, okay, last time they had this sort of event, they tried to brainwash everybody. Well, they're going to do it again, and this time it's going to be even more severe and more intense. So it's about, all of a sudden some big event starts to happen, and you're watching your TV screens, and they might start with a slightly smaller event, just to lure you in. Because once you're sitting there in front of your television and you're staring at that day after day, listening to the news, waiting for reports, see what's going on next, then they've got you. Those brainwaves are getting, programmed. And they want to do that. And then an even bigger event might appear after that. So, be careful. If you can just stand back when this event takes place and go, all right, okay, we knew there was an event coming. They're going to use it to try and mind control us. So if you're in that mindset already, as you're viewing the reports, then there's no way, pretty much no way they're going to be able to brainwash you after that, because you've already got that discernment happening. You're prepared, and you're not going to allow that to take place, because you can feel yourself then being lured into that. And you go, no, and you'll shake your head and try and snap out of it and not let them do that to you, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. It's I've always seen when you know the plan and you know the outcome, what they want to see happen. You may not know all the details, but when you watch all this unfold and you go, you know what, there it is, going right according to plan. Here's stage 4, here's stage 5, or when you're watching this whole thing unfold and you're going, my God, people are falling for it and glued to their TV, and the drama that they're creating out there is so full of holes and so lame, and it's unbelievable that people are falling for it. When we were talking about 911 earlier, they just happened to find his passport, after it went through, several cement walls in a burning inferno, everybody was just obliterated to nothing. But they just happened to find the hijacker's passport, floated down and landed right at the FBI guy's foot,
Yeah.
You go, wait a second, and buildings falling, at free fall speed and explosions, it just, everything, when you look at this story, it's so obvious. And then when you see Building 7, no plane hit it, nothing really severe happened to it, but, it went down in its own footprint again. And, you ask people, what about Building 7? And they go, what are you talking about, Building 7? They didn't even know there was a Building 7, that went down. And now I'm seeing on YouTube they're doing a thing where they're showing some guy going through there, like showing Building 7 just totally damaged and ready to go down. And this reporter's doing this whole thing, and it's all fake. When you see it, you go, now they're trying to cover their tracks. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
But when when you see the big picture and you're aware of their end goal and you know what they're trying to pull off, it's so obvious, what's going on, and I think people just need to throw their TV set right out the window, basically. I do.
Yeah, we have TV, but we don't actually have a signal that gets to us. So we might plug a DVD and watch it every now and then. But when I turn up at a friend's place and watch or we're just walking past the room and the television's on, because we haven't been exposed to those sort of radio waves and I would say subliminal mind control patterns that emanate from televisions and from radios. It's just amazing. We really, really can feel it, and we feel it in our minds straight away, and it's a really uncomfortable feeling. So when you've actually removed yourself from those patterns, it's kind of like someone who was an alcoholic gives it up and then gets a taste of alcohol again. Do you know what I mean? It's a disgusting feeling. And I can't recommend strongly enough for people just to stop watching television and just have it there for an emergency if you need it. And, grab a video and watch it if you want. But the energy that comes through your television stations and radio stations is really putrid for the mind. It's totally about grabbing your mind and programming it. And it's like hands are reaching out of there and just grabbing a hold of your mind, Awful, awful feeling.
Even a lot of these alternative talk shows that I've seen, some of the biggest ones, I watch, and they're still spinning it, and they'll take you a little further, a little deeper down the rabbit hole, but they always spin you back and leave you back into the drama or whatever. And one of the things I see all the time, I see people talking about NASA this and NASA that, and all the conspiracy guys are talking about, NASA did this and NASA, painted over this thing, and there's really a face on Mars, and all these other things, and they don't even come to the terms that maybe NASA is just a big front anyway, and it's always been a big front, and let's just agree it's a big front, stop playing this game, and go to the real meat of the story, which is, the other, back-engineered black projects where we've been going back and forth to the moon and Mars, probably since the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, we have. And I can vouch for that personally after having taken a trip there, yeah. So there's about 1 million people there already. And people say, well, that's just deluded and insane, but it's not. They just don't realise how much is going on around them.
Mm-hmm. And that seems to be coming out through so many different sources. And I know people on the inside that were part of those programs, and they've made it very clear, about what we do have. And it's so ridiculous how that could be applied, to the public sector, and the benefits of all of that. And, the 24-hour soldier, devices, that heal soldiers and get them right back out on the battlefield in 24 hours. And, we can, this is like 2011. Come on, you don't think they have a cure for cancer? I mean, that's ridiculous. But, all of these programs that they're running, and the illusion to make you think they don't have a cure, or they don't have fearless energy, or they don't have a way of creating peace, or all of these things are just, it's just like you're saying, it's just drama, it's mind control, and we need to break out of that and just say, you know what, this doesn't work, it hasn't worked, we've been doing it redundantly, and now it's time to do something else.
Yeah, and also to take into consideration the greater processes at hand. And again, I'll get back to that cycle of our collective human soul, that and the relationship that we are all having together with Mother Earth, and because that itself has a life cycle, and that's what's coming to an end now. Is that life cycle on that level of life, on this level, when you look around you, because the other bit that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the natural environment, and a lot of people feel that we're going to what ascension is that we're going to go into these really wondrous technologies, and it's going to happen over a long period of time, and we're all going to go back to nature and everything's going to be beautiful, but it's not quite like that. It's if you look at our natural environment, while she's very beautiful on the surface, you look deeper, it's actually completely barbaric. So, we are consumers, and we've had a natural environment which is totally consumeristic as well. So we needed that to facilitate our experiences here. So the natural environment is metamorphosizing as well. So because it won't be a frequency match, you can't have a group of enlightened beings walking a planetary body whose natural environment is completely barbaric. It's totally not a frequency match. So and some races live like that on other planetary systems, but they choose the path of technology. And so what they do is they create realities where they can keep the natural environment pristine, but they themselves live in a more holographic nature of reality, so they don't disturb the natural environment. Well, that in effect ends up creating even more division between the inhabitants of that planet and their natural environment. They lose even more connection. So while ideologically it's a nice idea, realistically they end up going down the path of technology even further and away from the natural organic side of things. So again, it's looking at this from a much larger perspective. So people need to bring into consideration the natural environment. And so when you look at Mother Earth, when you look at her lower ego of Mother Earth, which is the Lady Gaia or Gaia personality, that's the crust and that's the natural environment. So that all actually has to go. So when she ascends, she's going to become a body of light. And so her lower ego is in the process of deconstructing, just like our lower ego is in the process of deconstructing. Our lower ego is now being absorbed by the higher self. And it's the same. The cryosphere, which is in the heart of this planet, is now absorbing the lower ego, which is a Lady Gaia personality. And this reality is deconstructing. The proof for that is everywhere. There's plenty of proof with the Hadron Collider and many other experiments which have proven that every single element's now become unstable in this reality, and all our atoms and molecules are behaving completely in different ways than they ever have been, and the energy coming from the sun is now metamorphosizing all matter here. So, the proof is everywhere, but, a lot of people just seem to not be taking that into consideration in their contemplations and into their equations of getting a real feel for what's going on here. So, I say to people, please consider these larger processes. Please consider the intention of the planet, the collective human soul, our relationship with this planet, what we originally wanted to achieve by having this experience with this planet and the solar system, and understand the bigger processes at hand. And then you end up getting a really good feel and really good understanding for what's actually going on here, and all these other things that are carrying on, whether it's the New World attempt for a New World Order, or the chemtrail spraying, or the drama of a fake alien invasion. That's one of the main scenarios that could very well happen in the near future. They're all inside the drama vortex within that, those parameters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's. I've always felt that from my information that basically they said that the Earth was actually designed to be an Eden where people could, experience physicality and, take it to its highest potential. And it got hijacked, along the way. And that's my understanding basically is that it's being, the big reset button is about to happen, and the hijackers are fleeing like rats off a sinking ship basically, and we're just in the middle of that process that there are higher forces, higher conscious energy, whatever you want to call it, light forces coming in now that are putting an end. And I was meditating the other day, and I just kept getting "it is finished" over and over again. It is finished, and
and
I was thinking about tyranny and just the tyranny here, the process and the programs going on and everything else, and I kept getting over and over again, it's finished, it's on its way out, it's already been, we're just walking through the process right now, but it's already over.
Oh, couldn't agree with you more, James. I could not agree with you more. It is finished. It is over. It's completely inevitable. And the others will behave like Mr. Smith in The Matrix when he's deluded and he thinks that his program is what's going to transpire. and that our demise is inevitable, and that's not the case. They're coming from such a limited paradigm of reality and awareness, and they're still caught up in the much lower vibrational patterns of the arena down in the bowels of this universe. So people just need to understand the scope of life beyond our level of awareness, the magnitude of that. Like, come on, please, you just got to understand that there's so much more to this universe than what you've been led to believe, and there's so the aspects of ourselves and are so much grander. I mean, we're not only becoming gods so creators of the construct of light. Even beyond this universe, we already have our own universes. Each universe is its own unique expression. You are already gods. You're already creators of your own universes. You just sent a part of you inside this one to learn the construct of light. We do that out there on a universal level. That's how life is structured out there. We express ourselves. People like that expression, and they go, okay, I want to learn that expression too. So we send sparks of ourselves into each other. And so I'm inside your universe, James, and you are God, the creator of your universe, and I'm learning your construct, which is not light. It's a different construct. And my universe and your universe and it's everybody else's universe, and we're all inside one another. And depending on what the expression is, will depend on the construct. And I'm just now gone right out there and into the omniverse and looking at life from a universal level. So I'm just trying to get people to feel the magnitude of life. And when you look up at this universe and you say that the creator of this universe, of God, whatever you want to call it, there's plenty of life that exists infinitely beyond even this construct called light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many levels. I know. As you move up the vibrational continuum, into the highest levels, there are no levels. They are all the levels. So it's funny. You just start losing more and more of that identity, and this me, mine, and all those other programs just fall away, and you realize that that it's all the source. It's just all the source expressing itself, and some have chosen to express in ways that are not in the highest and best good of humanity, Earth, but they will have the reactions, to their actions, and learn, in their own good time. But
this universe will provide a wonderful set of experiences for them to continue to explore that way of life. It'll facilitate it for them wonderfully.
Yeah, and that seems to be, what I find out. We're talking about these beings that seem to be very powerful, but they're so poor. I mean, they have a lot of money and power and things like that, but they're spiritually inept, basically, and they haven't even figured out, the basic, principles, such as karma, action, reaction, and the unified field. They haven't even figured that out. That's like primary. That's like kindergarten. And, in all their wisdom and cleverness, they haven't, figured out that, for every action there's a reaction, and that their karma is going to, come back home to roost. And basically what they do to anybody else, they do to themselves, because we're all big one happy family down here in this unified field. And it's just amazing how they continue with these programs, thinking that they are, all powerful and brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderfully put.
Yeah, I don't, to me, it's like I have to go back to kindergarten to deal with the power elite and try to, reach them at that level sometimes. It's just like, whoa, let's go back to basics now,
Yeah.
But, there's so many things unfolding. I don't even know where to start. There's what I'm seeing right now is, in this, whatever you want to call it, this vibrational continuum, which we all exist, this big unified field. There's different beings within this unified field that we're all, using more of it or having awareness of more of it, of that field, and some of them are here to help. And there are some low-level stuff going on that that also have technologies and awareness, that are moving in a darker nature, you might say. But what would you say about that? Because I know some beings are here to help, but they're only here to get us to make our own personal God connection and connect with the earth and take care of it. And but we give our power away to these beings so often by shifting into worship, and seeking constantly and putting up our little altars and everything else, but usually totally missing their teachings or their story.
Yeah, that's a good point, that we totally bypass the original message, and we do that habitually, don't we, so often. Well, I'll explain it this way. You've got positive and you've got negative energies, the two sides of the scales of duality. And what I want to say to people is we've been plunged into quite a negative charge for so long. And so we are now attracting into our reality, for the purpose of balance, a very strong and powerful positive white love and light charge. And there are beings who are in that spectrum of life who see themselves as though they are above the negative and dark side of life. And they're not. The reality is they're across from it. It's the alter ego of one another. And I say to people, while we get paid visits from those sorts of beings, we can... excuse me one moment. I just need to fill back into this. While we get visits from these kinds of beings, and they might mean well, it's important to understand that there's some of them actually are trying to, I would go as far as saying even impose upon us their cultural philosophies, the ways they go about doing things, like specifically targeting people's diets, saying you must eat a certain way, you must be a certain way, or you're not a spiritual being, or you must meditate a certain way, and if you don't, you're not a spiritual being. So for me, those sort of energies start becoming a little bit judgmental and a little bit self-righteous. And it's very important not to allow ourselves to be drawn into that paradigm, because we haven't experienced that version of love and light for a very, very long time. The moment even that version comes along, it's like a child to candy in a candy store, So what I'm trying to say to people is look at both sides of the spectrum, and if you can look at them from a much higher place, you realise that there is a love and a light that is beyond the two scales of duality, the two sides of duality in those two expressions. And when those two are integrated, you end up with a love and a light that is far beyond that version of just the plus, positive white love and light energy. So, and beings from that positive white love and light, there are some that come here and actually do mean well. And there are ones who do understand who we are and where we come from. And like James said, they are only here just to encourage us so we can really activate that essence that is within us. But there are also some who just come from a very limited paradigm of awareness, because that positive white love and light energy is one side of duality. And don't forget, the expressions here are so deep, so intense, that it's gotten to the point where one side of duality has lost sight of the other side of duality, but they can't be together. They can't handle both charges, so they are living separate lives. So it's important that you don't get lured just into that positive white love and light energy if you have an intention of ascending with Mother Earth. So because that is a limited paradigm. It is just one side of duality. So what I have to say to people is be very, very careful, and because there are beings who kind of they get a bit excited, overzealous about the way they are interacting with us here, and sometimes they can't help themselves because of the nature of this reality. It kind of like this reality activates deep passion, not only within human but within beings that interact with this reality. So I would say, feel into it, feel into what these beings are sharing with us, and while they mean well, they just might not understand the larger processes at hand. And if I can share this with you, James, I had an incredible meeting with an ambassador from another universe over in Sweden when I was on my European tour. and he travels back to his universe 2 to 3 times a week, and and he gets taken there on shits, and when he goes there, his consciousness gets scanned, and everything he experiences is then scanned and then looked at by his peoples in his universe. And I think that's just an incredible journey that this being is on. And we had a wonderful, wonderful meeting that lasted for over 3 hours. He's an incredibly beautiful being, full of love. Just love the guy. And he said to me that they've been meeting within his universe, and they've been sorting out what they were going to do. They were going to come here, and a few members of their peoples from their universe are already interacting with our hierarchy behind the scenes. And they've got all this wonderful technology that they want to bring here. They're going to help cure our illnesses, give us technology that's going to bring us, back in alignment with Mother Earth and help clean up the environment and all that sort of stuff. And it's a 10-year plan, and they're going to be implementing it really soon. And I said, well, that's lovely. That's all well and good. I said, but when at these meetings, and, if you can imagine a situation just like out of Star Wars, where you have thousands of races who are inside this universe having these massive council deliberations on what to do, what they could do to help life here on Earth, that they were, I said, during these meetings, was the consciousness of this planet, of the Earth Mother, present and accounted for and participating in those meetings? And was the consciousness of the Sun, who is the solar system, present, accounted for and participating in those meetings? And he looked at me for a minute, and he sat back into his chair because he was sitting forward while we were talking. And he went, well, gee, I hope so. And I said, the way you said that just then means they weren't there, were they? And he was quiet. He couldn't say anything after that. I said, well, look, I understand that your people mean well, but, if you come here and try to implement your plan, you're actually imposing. You're imposing your cultural philosophies from your peoples upon this reality and upon the people in this reality. You're not actually asking even permission from the planet herself if you can come and do this to her body. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Even though there's a whole lot of extraterrestrial races out there that may have good intentions, it is important that you understand that if they do understand the laws of the universe, if they do understand the construct of life, then they will always ask permission of the planetary consciousness, of the solar consciousness of that star system, and they work in harmony, in synchronization, and in alignment with that. That is the key. If you are interacting with ET races that don't have the capacity to interact with life on these deeper levels, then these are the ET races that, even though they may mean well, they end up creating a positive imbalance in people's lives and do more harm than good in the long run. So, it's important that we actually communicate with these people and say, look, we really appreciate the fact that you want to come and help us. And but the reality is there's processes here that you just may not be aware of, And I'm not just saying this to put them down. It's just reality. There's a whole plethora of extraterrestrial life out there that does not have that full capacity to understand these deeper levels of the construct of life.
I agree. That this could be a whole new show. Yeah. The ones that we've been interacting with here are very aware of the bigger plan and, the natural flow and cycles and everything. And they work within those cycles. And it's very important to, that's a very good point that, to work with the natural cycles and the natural flow here and to be aware of the bigger plan is so important. And there are so many ones that are coming here with other agendas. I mean, they're perpetuate their program and their species or whatever. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother show. We're out of time, unfortunately. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and I can't wait to meet you in person, August 13th.
Oh, same, James. Going to give you a big hug.
I could feel it. So, but anyway, have a good evening and good on you, mate.
Thanks, James. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
All right, good night. Well, we're signing off. I hope we can edit this show. We had a couple breaks in here, but anyway, have a great evening and keep those phone lines open, please. Good night.